Welcome to the Star Trek Discovery After Show, right here on the Blackcast YouTube channel, discussing Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 7, the mid-season finale, something we didn't realize was coming only a few short weeks ago, with the incredibly uninspiring title of dot, 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 but to connect. We'll discuss that as always. I'm Christian Bladt, joined by Nikki Bailey. Nikki, Happy New
Hey,
Year!
hey, Christian, Happy New Year.
It's great to see you at sort of an odd day in time, and we appreciate everybody who's catching the show, whether you're watching live or you're checking out the archive after the fact. We always appreciate your feedback, and if you comment, I will respond. So get ready. But yeah, and as I mentioned a moment ago, this is the mid-season finale. Discovery is going to take a little break, and it'll be back February 10th. So as of now, the plan is that we will be back February 10th, that Thursday. Follow us on social media. You can see our handles right there on the screen, and we'll be sure to remind you when it gets a little bit closer. Let's always start with the big picture, aka in Star Trek parlance. Let's start with the needs of the many and work our way down to the needs of the few.
I thought this was a great episode. It gave me all the delicious Star Trekkiness that I love, the philosophy, the the difficult decisions, the interpersonal dynamics that have to be navigated. It had something for everybody, except not a lot of action, but a lot of really good story.
Yeah, it was a lot of like promise of action to come. You can see like, oh yeah, shit's gonna blow up next time, but
Yep.
we didn't really get that. And I agree with everything you said. I feel like we've inched just a little bit closer to getting the grudge centric episode that we've all known is coming. You know, there was plenty of focus on grudge during the episode, but I think it's very satisfying. Look, we have both been critical of aspects of the season, but what there has been ample of is character development. And I think that the Michael and Book storyline has really brought itself to this point. We've been heading this way, certainly since the start of this season. When Quajon was destroyed, and the fact that Michael has the her obligation to Starfleet and can't just sort of cater to the whims of her grieving boyfriend or partner, I suppose. But that's basically, she can't do that. And
Yeah.
she might have done that last season, but she's the captain now. And I thought that it's very telling that there was that moment where Michael's like, nope, I don't have anything to say. And then she's just like, no, that's not who
I
I am.
have
I
to.
have to I
Yeah, she
have to
has
speak
to.
up. I was very surprised that she wasn't going to speak up. And then she did, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's Michael Burnham as we've gotten to know her, but also that is very Starfleet, very Star Trek. You know,
Absolutely.
Picard, Cisco, Janeway, maybe Kirk, but they all would have done that. Kirk might
Exactly.
not have. Kirk would have figured out a way to make everybody happy, but everybody else, you're just that's what you do. That's your dedication to the uniform, and the belief of what you're there for. And let's say hello across the pond to our friend Craig Robinson. Evening all. Good
Craig.
episode, some decent speeches. Yeah, I mean, we're just talking about Michael and Book at the moment, but there'll be some more to dive into in a little bit. But I think that there was so much for all of these characters that we spent time with. And I think that Michael and Book, though, it's like it that there's no happily ever after that's possible now at this point.
Yeah, no, it's gotten to the point now where they're gonna have a reckoning between them that's not gonna be it's not their relationship's never going to be able to go back to what it was.
No, and I for the first time, I'm convinced that Book will not survive this season. Tarka is going to get a little carried away, and he's going to have to sacrifice himself, and then Michael's going to be stuck with Grudge in season 5. And
Ooh,
you know,
prediction.
yeah, just jumping right into it. I don't I see a no-win scenario to
Yeah.
continue the theme. That there is a Kobayashi Maru in Book's future, and he'll do it for the greater good. He'll do it for Michael. He'll do it for Starfleet. He'll come to a realization of what is more important. But yeah, I think that just the scenes with them together where they're actually speaking to each other, but then delivering their speeches that are, to everyone, but really,
To
very
one
thin.
another.
Yeah, really
Yeah,
to one another. I thought that all of that was very well done. Do you agree, Nikki?
absolutely agree. I actually had a moment where I had to pause while Burnham was giving her speech. I had to pause because I was like, "Oh, this is ending your relationship." I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, everyone I know is breaking up now. Book and Burnham are gonna break up. Oh,
Yeah. No, I know. And then that's you knew when the season started and they seemed happy. You were like, "Uh-oh."
yeah, yeah.
We just
This
weren't
can't
sure how the
last.
we just didn't know how it was going to get there. We didn't know his planet was going to be destroyed in the meantime. We didn't know that he would be confronted by a ghost of his father. There's a lot of things that got us to this point. And yeah, I think that it's a testament to how well they have been able to develop one Book as a character, but also just their relationship that we
Absolutely.
care so much. Even if at the end of last season he'd gone off, on his own, I think it would have been like, oh, he was fun. I liked him, but it'll be all right. But really, these previous 6 episodes, we've gotten to know him and care so much more about him that the idea that he'll be gone one way or another, even if he survives this season, I can't imagine he gets to continue being a freeloader on a Starfleet vessel. And
Absolutely.
they're just really dishing out the goodbyes on this show this season. And we've we've got Book, who knows how long he'll be here. It was nice to see even a brief flashback of Tilly, who
It
sometimes you
really,
think that they've
yeah, I
forgotten,
know. I
but
miss her so much.
I do. I didn't, in season 1 I never would have thought that was possible, but that is absolutely true. And we've also, I mean, it's set up uh for a week, that Gray is going to spend some time away, so Gray will be off the ship. But it's the fact that Adira is going along with Gray,
Yeah,
and so they're gone, and that seems like it's a very calculated move, because Adira and Tilly were very similar character types with very similar expertise in terms of knowledge. Obviously, Stamets is still on the ship, but I feel like they're setting up for a moment where there's a problem that they won't be able to solve because neither of them are on the ship. And maybe, you're able to, either have them beam to the ship, or, do that fancy 31st century Zoom that they have where people can just project themselves into the room. But what do you think about sort of moving all of these characters around, and the fact that Gray and Adira will be gone for some time? They may even be in the next episode, but the fact that they're positioning them to not be on the ship for sort of this big confrontation that's coming in the next episode.
yeah. I think we're getting prepared for just the coming up next video at the end of the episode. I was like, woo! Yeah, we're getting set up for something good. And I feel like it would be really great if Adira is gone for a week and then Tilly comes back and we get. I would love to see Tilly again. I hope that they haven't just sent her off and that she's never going to come. We're never going to see her again. So I would love to see Tilly come back, maybe with a problem that only she can solve. Um, I think they are definitely setting us up so that in the next few episodes, we're going to have a lot of big action and a lot of risk to our crew and um, a lot of yuckiness between Burnham and Michael. I mean, not Burnham and Michael. Burnham is Michael. Burnham and Book.
Burnham and Book, yeah. I agree. I think that that's really where they're getting us in this plan of Tarka's that has that Book was pretty much immediately on board with. It didn't seem to take much convincing. He is clearly very wary of Tarka, doesn't really trust him, and yet he is putting all of his faith in him being able to do this because of how important he feels that it is. When in actuality, I mean, Tarka's not really trying to solve their problem. He's like, yes, this will solve your problem, I think, but really it's going to just bounce me into the mirror universe. And that's all I really care about, you know? I think I'm a little surprised. I mean, look, there's only so much time. I was surprised at just how easily Book went along with Tarka's plan.
Yeah, you would think that there would have been a little more conversation about, oh, what do you mean? There's more than the mirror universe? What do you mean? What have you found? How did you find it?
Yeah.
How do you think you can get to it? I had so many questions, and Book had none, and
Yeah.
so I think it'll be really interesting to see if what Tarka is saying is true, if he really can destroy the DMA, or if he's just using this as a way to generate the power he needs to get to his new home.
Yeah, and I think clearly that's what's going to play out over the subsequent episodes when the show returns in February. And yeah, as you referenced, judging from the preview, which isn't necessarily for episode 8, it might be the next few episodes. It definitely gives us a look at where that's going, and that they definitely saved some money on their effects budget this episode for those next couple episodes. I think that's very clear here. So yeah, and the other major part of this episode is we say at least goodbye to Gray and goodbye temporarily to Adira, but essentially the official welcoming of a new crew member in terms of Zora clearly being identified as a new life form, which is in the intro to the original series. Clearly, it is the mission of Starfleet, and what I loved was that it gave us, we were talking in the intro, they gave us a very Star Trek debate of morality, of character, of trust, and with when you even have Saru making the point that well, I could do anything, and he's like, yeah, but I know, Stamets says, I know you, I can trust you. I think the fact that we have those conversations was great. There was not a lot of action. You're talking to a computer voice that you can't see,
Right.
which, it is not necessarily exciting, but I do think that they do a great job. And something that I was saying as we talked about the show going back to last season is if they can figure out a way to get more David Cronenberg on this show, it'll be better. And they have. And I did not expect to see him so much this year, Dr. Kovich. And, I thought that I like that sort of no nonsense character who is very blunt to a fault, even telling Stamets that if you didn't come around on Zora, you're the one that I would have had kicked off
Right.
the ship. You know, give me your thoughts as what you were thinking as you were watching all of this play out. You know, this idea that I guess starts with Zora's like, oh, I have the coordinates. I can't give them to you because I don't want anything bad to happen to you.
I was 100% with the original plan of she needs to be extracted from the ship. I was like, this is too much. We can't have a sentient ship computer. That just can't work. Um, so I was kind of like, expunge her from the ship and then put her in a body like they did with Adira, if
Yeah,
that's possible. Or not Adira, with Gray,
with
if that's
Gray.
a
Yeah,
possible thing. Um, but I think they got to a good place. I think it'd be really interesting to see how does a computer get to go through Starfleet, or I guess she wouldn't have to go through the Starfleet Academy, but what's her rank going to be? I'm so fascinated. I can't wait to find out.
yeah, and I mean, I think that because we had this with Gray earlier in the season, I think it's inevitable that Zora will be some form of humanoid life form by the end of the season. I think that, the fact that she mentioned that she could do that, I'm like, oh yeah, well, clearly we're going to get that at some point. Do you think it's inevitable that we get that, Nikki?
I do. I think it's the perfect way to introduce a new character, a new embodied character. And I do think that by the end of the season, or maybe even in the beginning of next season, the beginning of next season, we're gonna see Zora embodied, and I think that would be, but still keep the capabilities of being able to run the ship and everything.
Right. In the chat, Craig says Kovic was very cool. Kind of wish he would have told Gray and Adira to turn around and leave when they barged in. That was definitely having the meddling kids come in there, and you know, when Gray barged onto the bridge in the previous episode, it was to help everybody, basically help save the ship. This was like, what are you doing? This is the grown-ups talking. I mean, they were there to plead their case for Zora, which I think is sort of endearing, that they have really gotten that attached to Zora in just these last few weeks. And by the way, Jacob just throws in, good to see you, Nikki. Your smile is contagious. So
Oh, thank you, Jacob.
we don't tend to like things being contagious in 2022, but smiles are one of them that we allow. We don't recommend getting vaxxed against smiles.
Yeah, no, no
So
boost, no booster
no
against smiling.
boosters against smiling. But what do you think about Craig's point? The fact that Adira and Gray really do kind of run into, interrupt, for lack of a better term, grown up talk.
Grown folks' business. That's
Yeah.
in Black communities, we tell the kids stay out of grown folks' business. Uh, that said, I thought that their presence today because I watched it today. I thought
Yeah.
that their presence their presence in this episode really lended itself to the argument for preserving Zora's life and for preserving her as her own entity. So I thought that I also thought it was really great to sort of show the parallels between Adira being the first Trill host and Gray being the first synth that's been made in a long time. So I think there's some really great parallels there, and I think they helped the argument. Uh, they shouldn't have barged in, but they did help.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it was in contrast to what Stamets was saying, which, by the way, is the very real concern of, if you have emotions and you have feelings, maybe you react badly to something and you do decide to open all the airlocks and have everyone, on the crew. Because just because you care about the crew right now doesn't mean that won't change. I,
Right.
I don't think Zora knows much about the concept of a breakup. You know, when you care, she should watch very carefully to Michael and Book's interactions. She might understand it a little bit better. The fact that one day she might not care for them, and clearly that's the problem, and I think that'll be looming over the rest of the season. So the other sort of debate outside of that, and we referenced it earlier, is this idea of how to engage with species 10C. It is not very Star Trek to attack the DMA and blow it to smithereens. It is very Star Trek to take the time to make first contact, which, even though these were not all Federation worlds, I think the fact that that was the ultimate decision was very on brand for Star Trek. I think,
Absolutely.
and that species that we saw as kind of a throwaway earlier in the season, who did not want to be part of the Federation, really learned a lot. And I think that it was a very nice callback to just sort of remind the Federation how important it is to be respectful of people, even if maybe they don't trust you. Were you surprised that there were so many representatives that were in favor of, yeah, let's shoot first and ask questions later?
I don't know that I was surprised that there were so many. I think I was surprised by the fact that Earth wasn't part of the Federation. Um, I was surprised by that, and I was surprised that the person from Earth wanted was so forcefully in favor of destroying the DMA. I would like to think that Earth would have learned a little bit more about how to be a good neighbor in the 1,000 years since they left their time. I would like to think that Earth was not so prone to violence as we are prone to violence these days. So that was disappointing, I think. But I think that it wasn't surprising that there were so many worlds that really did want to go after it, because why not? Like, I mean, like, the argument works. And also if they hadn't had so much deep opposition, we wouldn't have had the show. The whole episode was the debate, so we needed the debate.
No, we absolutely needed the debate. I agree. And I think that, sort of getting to that point where everybody, well, not everybody, but you had so many people that were like, yeah, 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 let's go ahead and have a big explosion. But and I said before about how the fact that Book kind of jumped in. Everybody's just really taking Tarka at face value. That, he just wants to do this, he needs his power. And then Book knows sort of this, oh, all I want to do is return home, like he's some kind of Dr. Samuel Beckett, just hoping for the final leap to be the leap home. However, um he needs this banned substance to do it, which is a unnecessary callback to Star Trek Insurrection, but it is kind of a nice way to sort of deal with that issue, I guess, to revisit this topic. But I one of the websites that I like to read the summaries on, I think it was Den of Geek, it could have been Screen Rant, but the idea that people who are looking to utilize banned substances usually don't tend to be the kind of people who are looking out for the betterment of society. So he could just be one of those guys that just wants to watch the world burn, because the idea that he could make this big explosion, like, man, that would be pretty cool to see. I in college I had a roommate who was convinced that the sprinklers in our dorm didn't work, so he held a cigarette lighter under it, and I will have you know, they worked. And that water was very dirty, and
Oh.
everybody had to run out while they sprayed. Uh, so yeah, sometimes people just want to,
So
see
Tarka could
something
be
cool.
the sprinkler guy. He could
Yeah,
be that could be just what he's there for. Is
yeah.
to
Yeah, where do you think? Obviously, we're not supposed to trust Tarka, and not even as much as Book is. But what do you think is a likely explanation for what he wants? I mean, I do think his story about wanting to go to the mirror universe, I think that's legitimate, but I think there's definitely much more to it.
Yeah, oh, there's definitely more to it. It could be anything. It could be that he's chasing this so-called friend that he's chasing this friend that he had served that he had been imprisoned with by the
Right.
Emerald Chain. Maybe he's chasing that person. Maybe he's working for someone else for all we know. The Emerald Chain's been dissolved, but he could be working for someone else. We don't even know. We're taking a lot at face value with this guy, and anybody who wants to wield that much power for selfish reasons needs to be viewed suspiciously. And I think Book is so caught up in his own grief and his own emotional response that he's not thinking clearly about who he's dealing with here.
Yeah, I think that they could use a lesson from Peter Parker's Uncle Ben, who reminds you that with great power comes great responsibility. And Tarka, I don't think, feels any responsibility. He's just trying to get what he wants. And yeah, I think that this friend is probably someone who very much does not want Tarka to find them. And for, I am going to assume, very good reason. Probably
Yeah.
took something away from him that would have created a different cataclysmic event. In the chat, Craig says, do you think they will pay off all this distrust of Federation that they keep sprinkling into these stories and show a flashback or something? Or have I missed an explainer? I mean, they dealt with this a little bit last season, I thought, in terms of, why the Federation fell apart. And, the burn obviously had so much to do with that. I don't know that we'll ever get to the letter explained. I think just people fell off because they're like, what do I need the Federation for? We can't go anywhere anyway. We can't
And
really
yeah, the
have.
Federation couldn't protect anyone. They
Yeah.
were powerless anyway. So what was the point? For all of those years after the burn, all of those planets were basically trying to manage on their own. Why would they need the Federation now if they've been managing on their own all this time? So hopefully they'll come back. But yeah, I think that there's probably the distrust of the Federation may not be all about distrusting the Federation as much as it is about why do we really need them if we've
Yeah.
survived all this time without them.
And an interesting follow up point from Craig. I had a small crazy theory that the fellow scientist was at the other end of the DMA.
Ooh, that's
So
good, Craig.
I think that is good. And Craig, even though the show will be gone for 6 weeks, we will remember if you are proven accurate on that. We don't have a prize for you, but we'll give you some kind of on screen recognition. The Craig Robinson Award goes to Craig Robinson, if that were indeed to happen. Yeah, I think the potential for what happens next, in terms of when the show returns, just sort of with this moment, but we still haven't even been teased in the preview. Species 10C, we don't know anything about what they look like. Do you think that it might be something that we have seen before that they just haven't classified yet because they haven't actually made the contact? There was a reference multiple episodes ago about the Q continuum. Could it be something like that?
I think it's going to be a species we've never encountered before, or rather, I hope it is a species we've
Yeah,
never
I do too.
encountered before.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is, and I hope that it is. Is just sort of wondering if it could be, sort of like, when the Borg were first introduced on Next Generation, it was this idea that it was a species they weren't meant to encounter for hundreds of years yet. They weren't ready to meet someone that advanced yet. So it could be something sort of next level. And I don't mean it is the Borg, but it's sort of something that's so advanced that even 32nd, 31st century Starfleet is not able to compete with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of questions. I think that, you know, this episode, I was saying last week when our pal Flobo was with us that what I really wanted was this episode to sort of end with like a big reveal, a big moment, sort of who's behind it, somebody, making contact with species 10C. But I'm all right with the way that it developed, which was sort of this, going against basically the Federation Plus on Paramount Plus, all wanting to take the time to go and make first contact, sort of this defying orders nature that is also inherent in Star Trek. It's just, it's just Book and this Tarka character. I'm satisfied for where they're leaving us for 6 weeks. I'm annoyed that they're leaving us for 6 weeks. Just
Absolutely.
and I think in protest I can't possibly watch Prodigy, but it's also that I have still only seen the first episode. So for me to watch Prodigy, I have to watch the old ones from before Discovery even started. And again, there's Lower Decks. So, you know,
I have
I
not watched Prodigy at all.
yeah,
But maybe I'll check it out during this break. But I too am not happy with this. Why do we need this 6 week break? I do not
yeah.
know, but they left it. They left it in a way that it left a yummy taste in my mouth. I'm looking forward to the next bite.
Yeah, and in terms of giving us a little bite, I believe it was in this episode that we did have a nice moment continuing the courtship of Mr. Saru and
Oh,
the Navarre president. Uh, how cute are they?
that is so cute. I couldn't even stand it. I literally rewound it and watched it twice because it was
Ah,
so cute. I love the chemistry between them when they're still so formal with each other.
yeah.
Um, but there's still this obvious chemistry there, which I think is a marvel of for the performers because through all the prosthetics and all of the effects and whatever, they're still able to convey a real sense of, I don't know if it's attraction, but a real sense of connection. And it's beautiful, and I can't wait to see what happens there.
Yeah, I agree with I hope we get to explore whether it happens this season or in the future with Mr. Saru and President Torina. I think that there's a lot to see in there. Let's go through some of the some of these are listed. Den Geek goes through every episode and lists the Easter eggs in their Easter eggs. Before they even got into them, they kind of asked the question, which in the 31st century, are people still using the Bajoran wormhole from Deep Space Nine to go to the Gamma Quadrant and the Alpha Quadrant? I mean,
Mm.
is that something that's still, I mean, a lot can have happened, and I mean, I think in, the Deep Space Nine did every year would do a mirror universe episode. So they really explored that. And I think at one point it was established that in the mirror universe, the wormhole was intentionally imploded. So something like that could have happened where it was intentionally closed off. So with this DMA sort of opening up, on the other end somewhere, it does beg the question, are there wormholes that are being used regularly at this point? I mean, obviously during the burn, if you were somewhere near it where obviously, you didn't have dilithium, but having a wormhole during the burn would have been the only way to get around,
Yeah.
so we may not get that answer, but it definitely got me thinking about it. What do you think, Nikki? Do you think that that the Bajoran wormhole and others might still be out there?
I think some of them might still be. It's an interesting thing to contemplate. That they would survive this whole time and survive. Who's controlling it, and at that point you'd have without the Federation, without Starfleet, you'd have all this who's controlling the wormholes and who. So I don't know. I think it would be interesting to find out. I think that would be an interesting episode. This goes to the whole, there's so much we don't know about this world now that we're in this new century. There's so much we don't know that I want a show now that's just about this world. I want like,
Yeah.
Discovery is great, but I also want to understand this new universe, this new time period that we're in. And that would be a really great show, I think. Something that a DS9 for the 31st century or 32nd century.
Yeah, I believe it's the 32nd century, but it's always unclear. It's not always, but as we talk about it, we had the return of a character who, when we last saw them, was a captain, General Nayode. I may have said that wrong, but I like when they have the opportunity to return characters in a way that makes sense. That was somewhere that we saw. There's references to past interactions with artificial intelligence, and those are considered to be the original series episode, The Ultimate Computer, and also just the fact that on Voyager, the doctor, the medical
Mm-hmm.
the medical simulator program was an actual member of the crew, and we had a number of very familiar looking alien races from Star Trek. We had a number of Andorians, we had Lurians, we had a Cardassian. I was very excited to see a Ferengi.
A Ferengi was dressed to the nines,
Yeah, yeah, I
looking
know. And
good.
yeah, I always think that with the Ferengis, they really kind of put themselves into a corner with the fact there's two things about those characters that make it really difficult to explore them. Just to have Quark running a bar made sense. It's very difficult to sort of have them, potentially, on a crew or whatever. And the fact that they established, and now it's been, well, not 900 years, but 700 years since the Next Generation, but that the women never wear clothes, and they worked around that in the past. But so it's always tough to do stuff with the Ferengi, but it is nice to see them. It does make me miss Quark though, because he's the one we got to know the best. And yeah, they talked. I referenced earlier the isolytic weapons is the term that I couldn't remember, but that was a reference to a weapon that was used in Star Trek Insurrection. And you know, there is a moment in this episode where Book references the Klingons, and we have not seen them in the 32nd century. Why do you think that might be? Obviously, during the burn, they wouldn't have left. I think there might have been a reference to them last season, but we haven't seen them. Do you think that they might be saving the Klingons for something, or
I
uh,
wonder if they've destroyed themselves. They couldn't be at war with any
yeah,
other people,
that
so
makes
maybe they
perfect sense,
were
actually.
at war with each other.
Yeah, I know. And if Flobo were here, he would find a way to turn this conversation to Takuvma.
Takuma,
Oh, and you know
as
what? As
Craig
soon as I
just
brought it
did.
up, Craig jumps right in. Where's Takuvma? So yes, where is Takuvma? That is that's what, well, nobody really wants to know. And yeah, so, and
I think
what?
in more practical terms, we haven't seen the Klingons because they were so bad at the beginning of the Discovery that to bring them back now would be just criminal.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't think we could stomach it. So I think that's why we haven't seen them.
yeah. I think that it has to be the right moment. Tarka's scar was explained as the fact that Book got rid of his when he was forced to serve the Emerald Chain. So it's obviously that was what they were able to bond about. Excuse me, that was one of the main moments that they bonded over. And then, ultimately the way that this ends is the fact that Zora's a part of Starfleet, and Book and Tarka are not playing by anybody's rules, and ready to really make some mayhem in episode 8 when the show comes back. And as we've referenced a few times, that is 6 weeks away, although I guess technically it's 5 weeks from now, but 6 weeks from when this episode premiered. It'll be back February 10th, which, as we established, is 2 days after my birthday. And where does it fall in relation to your birthday?
2 days before my birthday.
So yours is the 12th, mine is the 8th. It's right in the middle. So as referenced in our previous episode, we're going to have to invite Flobo there just so that he can be forced to give us both gifts.
I love it. It works for
think,
me.
yeah. But getting the show back will be, I won't say it'll be gift enough, because I'll always take more gifts, but it will be a gift, and that'll be a nice place to start. So when the show comes back, what are you expecting to see, and what are you hoping to see? We'll have, what, 6 more episodes? Yeah, 6 more episodes, 8 through 13.
Yeah. I'm hoping to see some Tilly in
Oh
some
yeah.
capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I expect to see Book be double crossed by Tarka.
Yep.
I expect Burnham and Book to um, have it out and have their relationship end. And I expect for Adira and Gray to have some trouble with the long distance. I don't
Yeah.
know how or why, but something there.
Well, yeah, having had Gray as a part of them, literally a part of them, and then the separation of just being outside of their body, but now actually physically being somewhere else. I do agree. I mean, look, long distance is difficult for anyone, but for them, long distance would have been, across the room because of how of what
Right.
their bond had been. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And we're really setting up for Zora to to potentially kill everyone on the ship, but I don't think we'll quite get there. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes. We'll figure out this DMA. We'll see how Book's participation in this plan is not going to help him with Michael, but also with what he's feeling himself. So I'm interested in seeing where it is. I think that they ended in a way with some interesting questions. It wasn't as exciting as a finale as I think I was hoping for, but I look forward for the show coming back, and I can't wait to having Nikki and myself being able to talk to everybody about it. And Craig mentions, Burnham dropped the S bomb, and it's true, she did. And Craig says, "Did you guys see the preview for part 2? I thought I saw a glimpse of the security chief from earlier seasons who got left behind." Yeah, I forget that
Yes.
character's name, but she has like those like wires or some
Yes.
kind of breathing apparatus. I did see her, and you know what? Now that you mention it, Craig, I did mean to look up what her name was because I wanted to reference that. So we'll get her back, and I mean, they're dropping crew members left and right, so we're gonna have to bring some old ones back.
It also looks like we're gonna get more of the bridge crew in
Yeah.
the in the
Oh
in
yeah,
the
because they were
second
dressed
half.
for battle.
Yeah.
Like Detmer and others. Yeah. So I'm excited for it, and I can't wait to see all of you and Nikki as well back on February 10th. We will, as I mentioned earlier, we'll keep you posted on social media as to when you will be able to find our show. But I think on Thursdays, I think 3:00 was what worked Pacific time. But we'll let everybody know once it gets closer to February 10th. But until then, Nikki, where can people find you?
You can find me at NikkiBaileyComedy.com or on all the social medias at NikkiBailey_.
Okay, and I will make sure to keep tabs on you there. And please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And please subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel, BLADTCAST. You'll get this show and all the others that we do, including Marvel Movie Talk. that's all the time we have for now. As Craig Robinson says, let's fly.